Multi-billion-dollar aid package for Iraq. After working on this for a month, we just got word from our spies at Capitol Hill that lawmakers are finally close to finishing this, and it looks like, after all, there's not going to be any language about making part of this alone. For one of our next guests, it's a victory. For the other, a defeat. Senator Ben Nelson, Democrat from Nebraska, he serves on the Armed Services Committee, and Senator Gordon Smith, Republican from Oregon, he serves on the Finance Committee. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Nelson, since you worked on an amendment to get loan language into this, it sounds like a defeat for you.
Well, I don't think it's a defeat for me. I think it's a defeat for the American taxpayer and for those who are now expected to borrow so that the Iraqis don't have to borrow. We worked very carefully to make half of it a grant and half of it a loan forgivable if the pre-war debt of Saddam was forgiven up to 90% by countries such as Russia, such as Germany, such as France, such as Saudi Arabia. So I think it's unfortunate that the American people will have to borrow so the Iraqi people won't have to.
Senator Smith, the question about forgiving the debt, it's something that a lot of Americans want an answer to, because we're talking about an estimate of $200 billion owed to various countries by Saddam Hussein's regime and stuck on the Iraqi people. Why don't, not tying it necessarily to a loan, since that's not in the bill, but why not just demand that that gets forgiven anyway?
Well, I think it will be forgiven ultimately, but part of our diplomacy is setting the kind of example that will encourage other countries to forgive. And I think this is a great test for our generation of Americans. We have won a war, now we need to win a peace. And we do it not by lending money on a forced basis to the Iraqis, but by helping them to build a future that will include democracy in the part of the world that has never known it.
But, you know, the language about setting an example by being generous, Americans being generous to Iraq, is different from putting the arm on certain recalcitrant countries about forgiving the debt. I mean, France does not seem to show any inclination to forgive, and by golly, a lot of Americans think they should. Senator Nelson.
Well, I agree, and as a matter of fact, the United Nations resolution that was passed the same day as the supplemental was passed encouraged the World Bank and others to loan money to Iraq. As a matter of fact, if you look at what was done at the donors conference, the largest share of what was contributed and will be contributed would be in the form of loans. I don't know why we're the grantors of gifts when others are loaning as a part of their effort. Only part of it a grant, but in many cases, most of it a loan.
Senator Smith, let me just get back to the forgiving the debt. If countries don't forgive it, if they decide that they're just going to thumb their noses, we can legally repudiate their debt, or we can at least convince the Iraqi government to do it.
Well, we will repudiate it carefully. We don't want to upset the lending markets, but on the other hand, in past wars, when dictatorial governments like Hitler's have been vanquished, we didn't pay their debts. We rebuilt Germany. And those who loaned money to Hitler had to eat those bad loans. And that will likely be the case, certainly will be the case with those who loan money to the tyrannical regime of Saddam Hussein. But we have a responsibility, and this is really our moment in history to win the peace. And this is the hard lifting that comes with a great military victory. Now it's about waging peace, and it starts with this very generous act on the part of the American people that is similar in kind to the Marshall Plan in the generation of our parents. I'm very proud of what we're doing, and I think the world will ultimately judge what we have done in the same way as it has judged the Marshall Plan.
Senators, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. We know you have work you need to get back to. Thank you very much.
Thank you.